Welcome to Life Esteem, a program committed to delivering information that's important to you and your community. Your hosts are Nathaniel and Patricia Gadsden.
Hello, welcome again to Life Esteem. So great to have you as a viewer. Hey, today we're going to talk to two outstanding poets here in the Harrisburg area who are just doing great things. Edward Fisher and Julian Davenport. These guys are on fire. Glad that you're in the studio, man. Good to see both of you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having us. Some people may remember not long ago in the Patriot News, Julian was featured. Great article, by the way, I thought, in the Patriot
Very
News.
Nice article.
Front page, even.
Yeah.
I said, wait a minute now, this guy made the front page. And it's good stuff. And Julian's been going into the school district as part of the Writers' Workshop. He first came in, and he has forged his own identity with some good stuff with, you know, his publishing. And then Brother Edward Fisher over here started going into the district with me. In fact, Julian, you went to Marshall, right?
Yes, sir.
And then Edward went to Melrose. And both of these guys, though, are going up to the Camp Curtin YMCA on Wednesday evenings as part of what we do there at the Writers' Workshop. And it's called Poets and Writers Sanctuary. And we work with young people. And then we also have a relationship on Friday nights, right? The second and fourth Friday, down at the Know Thyself Cultural Bookstore at 1003 North 3rd Street from 7 until 9, and it's free and it's open, and these two guys are really making it happen. So again, welcome to the show, man. I just wanted to give that little piece there. Edward, when did you start writing?
I actually started writing probably about 12, 13 years old. Writing poetry was my way to escape. It was my way to get away from some of the abuse that I was experiencing at home, my way to kind of write about my surroundings and some of the things that I saw, some of the things that I was going through. It was kind of like my secret that I kept from everyone. I didn't tell too many people about, you know, my writing.
Yeah, fantastic. Brother Julian, same question, man. When did you start writing?
I got a similar story to Edward over here. I started writing as a means of therapy. Just to escape reality and make myself feel better, and you know, use my imagination.
Both you guys, you know, you're no strangers to, let's say, quote unquote, the streets. I don't ever know what are the streets, but I mean, you know, been out there, and you know, but you use poetry as a way of combating that. And I know you talked about that, especially in your article. Talk a little bit about what that article was about, and just how you decided to come up with your book, by the way. And your book is called
In My Eyes, Urban Poetry Book. This is volume 1.
Volume 1, and you've gotten some real traction on that book, man. You've been marketing it and taking it around, and people are responding. But you come from a place, you know, you come from a place of understanding where, especially a lot of young people, they're saying, hey, you know, he's speaking my language. So tell us about that, your background and then the poetry.
Well, my poetry, like I said, has to do a lot with my life, and so I wanted to put together something that reflected, you know, my way of thinking, which is the way of everybody else that's around me. So I wanted to come up with a way for them to be able to grasp onto something that meant something other than maybe some of the music that's out there. So I chose this poetry, and I wanted to put a message out through it. And the message, you know, comes from within. And I know a lot of people are going through the same thing that I'm going through. So maybe that's why they grasp onto it the way they have. But as far as the article, that dealt a lot with me giving back to the children as far as helping with the reading and writing, thanks to you. I got a chance to go into the schools and really do what I wanted to do. I like working with children. I like seeing their reactions to the poetry, which is great, by the way. So, you know, they give me motivation to keep it moving.
Good, man. Good stuff, And same way with yourself, Edward, you've been working with the young folks, and you know, but you're speaking their language. They kind of understand. You've been there in some instances. Talk about that a little bit.
I was a ward of the state at age 14 years old, in and out of everything from foster homes, different institutions at an early age. I was in Bethany Children's Home. I was also in Senecal Children's Shelter here in Harrisburg on 17th Boas. In and out of those different avenues, and I chose the streets at an early age to get away from some of the abuse. But being in and out of prisons after you know, some of the foster homes and some of the other institutions that I was in and out of, I made a decision that it was time to change my life, and that the streets obviously didn't have too much for me anymore. And, you know, the proof is in the pudding. My history shows it. You know, I've been to jail over 12, 13 times. So I talk about all those things in my poetry, just to let people know that the streets can be where you came from, and, you know, it can be something that you went through, but it doesn't have to be where you are. It doesn't have to be where you stay. So a lot of my poetry, you know, I have a poem called Married to the Streets, which is an ode to some of the things that I did, but it talks about how I went to prison, and basically I realized that I needed more from my life, and that there was more to life than just jail or addiction or any of those things that a lot of us tend to go through.
Good stuff, man, good stuff.
Well, it's interesting, and I know both of you, and I've heard your poetry. I know you're going to share some with us here shortly, but you think about that. Now, you said you started about 12 or 13, Edward, and you were a similar age, Julia, in regard to that. Was that unusual from other young people around you? Did you know other folks, young people that were doing poetry, or you did know other young people?
Well, actually, I have to be honest, I didn't know anyone, and it was, like I said earlier, it was a secret. It wasn't something that I shared with very many people. I didn't actually even begin to speak my poetry into existence as far as other people were concerned until I was probably 27, 28, 29 years old. I started from listening to Tupac Shakur. I heard Tupac Shakur, and I heard some of his Rose That Grew from a Concrete.
Yes.
And I heard some of his songs, Tupacalypse Now, things like that, and that inspired me to begin to write poetry. I just got on fire for it, and once I started to write, like I said, it was something that I kept secret. I definitely didn't tell everybody about it, but whenever a strong emotion would come over me, that's what I began to do. And part of my book is that I'm about to drop September 1st. It's called From Pain to Poetry, and it just talks about all the things that I've been through in my life, from addiction to child abuse to some of the homicides, all those types of things that I've witnessed, that my eyes have seen. But the poetry coincides with it. So it's not really a novel. It's more or less just short stories talking about the graphic stuff that a lot of people don't want to talk about in books. I give you instances of fights that I've been in, different situations that I went through in jail, times where I was selling drugs on the street, times where I didn't know where I was going to live at the end of the day. One of my essays even talks about some things that were actually going on, you know, in one of my times using drugs, smoking weed. But it has poetry that coincides with it, and the poetry is the therapy to that situation. So though I went through a lot of crazy situations and a lot of things where, you know, statistically speaking, I should be dead or, you know, be doing more time in prison, the fact that I had poetry as an avenue, a way to talk about those things, allowed me to see my thoughts and even see the error in my thinking. And from there began to change my thinking, because I think that's the biggest thing with when you want to make a change in your life and moving away from some of the perils of your past, is being able to see the error in your thinking and changing it from there. You know,
but it sounds very similar to your journey, Julian. Talk about your journey, man.
Well, my journey goes a long way back, but my story is similar to his, but not exactly the same. A lot of my poetry has to deal with some of the pain I deal with from childhood, as far as not having my father around, growing up in a single parent mother, which is a lot of people's problem right now.
That's right.
So I started writing my poetry. It wasn't really poetry when I started. It was rap, but I started using poetry because of the way rap went. Poetry, I can still get my message out there, and they'll listen, because I'm giving you word for word, line for line, with meaning. But anyways, as far as the book coming along, the book came along 2010, and I started writing it from my steps on Vernon Street. Some of the poems were from back when I was in prison, or just writing, period. I was going through a bad time or a good time. But most of them come from me looking out on my street, getting fed up with seeing what I see on my street.